Brian and Aaron, you guys are both not actively youth pastors at the moment, but you were in the past. If you guys were still youth pastors right now and you had to start a youth group during COVID, how would you do that?
I don't wanna. That'd be so hard.
Yeah, I have mad respect for all the youth pastors who are pastoring during COVID. We kind of dodged a bullet on that one. We got out right at the right time, basically.
I feel like I sold my house right before the housing bubble crashed. I feel like I got out at a really good time.
Let's think this through, because I've never thought through this before.
Okay, let's tag team this.
Let's say that you and I are co-pastoring a youth group. We just showed up at this church. They hired us together. They said, we want 2 youth pastors. It'll be great. What's that?
Co-youth pastors, or is one of us over the other one?
I feel like we're like a Michael Scott and Jim situation where it's the co-managers.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So we
need Tube City.
Yeah. No, I'm shutting that down. Shutting down Tube City. Are you the Michael?
Tube City, you owe me.
I assumed I would be the Michael in any of our Michael Jim scenarios, but
so in most scenarios where The Office is talked about, mostly because I use dry humor and every once in a while I make a confused looking face at people, I normally get compared to Jim. And because there have been a couple work situations where my wife has been the receptionist.
Mine too. I think it's just a youth pastor thing.
We've totally won.
It's a 2-for-1 deal
game, because it's oh, well, he would be Jim and she would be Pam. And you're those are the characters you want to be, but you have to be if you all say so. You can't just be of course I'm Jim. Who else would it be?
I mean, I would want to be Jim, but deep down in my heart, I know I'm closer to a Michael than a Jim in my real life. But
that is the sign of maturity, when you're ready to admit that you're not Jim.
There you go. Okay, so
is this helping?
Now you know what to do. The video can be over. That's how you start a youth group. Get a Michael and Jim. Okay. How do we do this? Do you want to go first? What are your
Sure.
The senior pastor? He's you guys got to start a youth group during COVID. And let's just say that our church is one that is we're not going to meet in person. No meeting at the church building. Let's just say that there's a rule right now. There's a lockdown in our area, and so we can't meet physically at the church building with the students. How do we start a youth group? I'm going to let you go first.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would think the first thing you're trying to do is you're probably trying to put out some kind of teaching video. So I would start building some kind of structure where we could put out, I wouldn't put out 30 or 40 minute sermons. I'd probably put out 15-minute snippets. Even if it requires some extra editing work and it takes you about the same time as a 40-minute sermon, it would probably be worth it to have really good, tight, you're going to keep their attention during these videos kind of sermons going out. That's what I would start working on. What are we teaching? How are we getting that out in a way that's meaningful to students? That is definitely not the only thing you need to do, but it's one thing you need to do.
So you're thinking Michael Scott big picture. Let me be Jim for a second if I can, and think day to day. I don't know if you have
it in you, but let's try.
I can look at the camera ironically. Let me try. Was that?
You didn't make any kind of face.
Yeah. You got to make a face.
You just did hold on, I'm going to look at the camera.
Give me your Jim face.
You got to...
There. Yeah.
There's got to be...
That was some I feel like there's a little bit more snark and disappointment in your face than Jim. It's a very subtle thing that he does with his face. Let's get back to the question. So yes, we need sermons. Yes, we need to continue to do what the church is supposed to do and get our theology out there and preach the word. But we need community. So I think the first thing I would do on my side of things would be I would start a group chat with all of our students and get them in there and just start talking to them. Just start asking them about how are things going? How is your life right now with COVID? How is school? How are your friendships? What's going on with you? And just start building that community with them and just talking with them. And then setting up some Zoom calls with the students where just, small group leaders, like we talked about in our other video, I would start getting some of the small group leaders to say, hey, these 3 girls, female leader, I want you to Zoom call them. Hey, these 3 dudes, I want you to Zoom call them. And just start building that out so that the kids feel connected to the group and they're not just coming to our social media account to watch our videos. I think community needs to be the starting point, and then through the community, then we point them to the videos, right?
Yeah, I think that that's super helpful. And without community, you don't really have a group. I'm just trying to throw out points in no particular order. And I do think the community aspect would need to be your top priority. I think one of the ways that you can build that is start building some kind of regular email communication for parents. If parents are in the know about what it is you're trying to do as a group, they will help their kids remember that it's time for youth group or it's time for that Zoom call. Like, they, generally speaking, parents want to see their kids be part of youth group things. They just see it as a good thing for them. And how many times, if you lead a youth group, how many times has a parent like dropped their kid off for an event like 15 minutes late and they're like, oh, you didn't tell me until today. It's like you emailing that parent could have fixed that. So try and have some kind of regular communication with parents, even if it's not like two-way Zoom calls or anything. Just like build an email list so that you could be like, hey, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to really focus on our discipleship Zoom calls. If you have any questions, please email me or call me and I'll happily walk you through it. Get the parents to buy in and they'll help keep the students engaged.
That's good. Yeah. Tell me if this is a dumb idea. I'm just throwing this out there. Because again, we've never done this, so we're just making it up on the spot. But I think starting the community, getting the small group leaders connected with their kids. So you've got a master group chat. That's all of your students in one group chat. And then you've got smaller group chats where it's like one leader and then like the 4 kids that are their kids. And then as we're creating content to help them, like sermon messages, then the small groups get their kids on a Zoom call, they play our video, and then they immediately after the video go into like small group discussion. And that's kind of facilitating what the youth group was already doing, but it's just adapting to kind of like the COVID technological age, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think anything that you can do to be creative and to show students that you care about relationship with them matters. Like I would even go as far as if you had a day in the office where like there were 4 hours and you didn't have anything to do, like drive around to students' houses and like leave care packages on their front door.
Or that's what the youth guys at Calvary Old Bridge did, right? Zach Peck and Vinny.
Yeah, they did that, and that was a great idea. Like even if you don't have anything, just driving to a student's house and showing them like, I just wanted to see you, even with your screen door closed and me with a mask on and me 10 feet away from you. Like, I will sit on your front lawn and have a 15-minute we're far apart conversation with you just so you know that I love you.
That would blow middle school Aaron's mind, you know? Because when I was a kid, I'm a little chubby middle school kid. Like, I didn't think anybody liked me. I didn't think anybody really cared, you know? I mean, I knew my parents cared, but I didn't think anybody else did. And when adults would show me that extra bit of like love and like just reaching out, it would always blow my mind. So I'm just thinking like I'm putting myself in middle school, 6th grade Aaron mode. If my youth pastor and some of the volunteers showed up to my house during COVID and chatted with me on my lawn, it would make my month, if not my year.
So here's an example of that happening where it felt really awkward when it happened, but it turned out like it led that student to be plugged in for the next 5 years of him being a middle school and high school student. There was a kid that showed up to our youth group. I kind of got tipped off a little bit beforehand of like there may be some family issues. This student wasn't really super excited about coming out to youth group, had some reservations about it. So the parents just wanted me to take a little bit of an extra interest. So he comes the first week, try to play it cool, make sure that he's taken care of. Great. He comes back the next week, and I learned that the next day is his birthday. And just kind of like jokingly and offhand, I was like, that's awesome, man. I'm going to bring you cake tomorrow. And he was like, what? And like he kind of perked up and got excited. Like, you would do that for me? And I saw him get excited and I was like, oh man, I gotta buy this kid cake tomorrow. Like, this now actually has to happen. So I went to the local grocery store that had like a bakery section in the back. I got him 1 slice of cake because I'm poor. And I drove it to his house where his grandfather was there, who had no idea any of this was happening. And I just basically knocked on his door and was like, hi, I'm 25. Is your 12-year-old here? And like, I didn't know how to go about the conversation. He didn't know anything that was happening. But I gave that kid cake, and in my mind, I was thinking, this is weird. His parents are going to hate this. I'm going to jail. And what really happened was this student felt super loved, became a devoted attender of youth group, and we watched this student grow with Jesus for the next 5 years.
That's what it's about, man. Totally.
Yeah. Those little moments go so far in making students want to be around the group.
Yeah, and so I think in this age of COVID, if we were doing a youth group, I would also say to myself, to you, to volunteers, we got to find ways to enter into their world right now and not just try to like get them to come to the digital space that we've set up for them. We need to find ways to connect. So phone call, text, if some of the guys in your group or girls, if some of the girls in your group are into gaming, get you and your volunteers, get them gaming with your kids, play some Fortnite, play, whatever else people play. I don't know anymore.
Are there other games than Fortnite now?
It's kind of the one, but Among Us.
Over all the other games.
There's Among Us. I've never played it, but I hear it's all the rage in the youth.
I know that it exists. Yes.
We're dating ourselves. I know that
there are imposters.
Yes. So play that stuff with your kids. What we're trying to say is
we're cool. That's what we're trying to do right now.
I wasn't trying to say that.
That's why I'm the Jin in this relationship.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think we can end this video just with acknowledging youth ministry is already really, really hard. One of the hardest jobs you can do, I think. And right now, those of you guys in youth ministry, like what you're facing, it's insane. It's so hard. It's so difficult. But we just want to encourage you, just keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. God has put you in the spot that you are in totally for this time and this place and this moment. Don't second guess the things that he puts on your heart to bless the students, whether it be through reaching out personally, whether it be through reaching out through social media engagement, through videos, through podcast creation, through, group chats and small groups. Don't downplay what God can do in this time. Because right now it might feel like compared to how things were, back when you could go to summer camp and back when you could throw big events and back when you could just do all this crazy stuff that looks good on the outside, you might think that none of that's happening. So right now it's just kind of maintenance. It's just kind of maintaining what we have, but like God's not going to do any growth. You don't realize that the way that you're reaching out and loving your kids right now, they're going to remember that for like their entire life. They're going to remember how their leaders love them through one of the hardest times in our life that we've been through. And that'll stick and that'll make a difference.
Yeah, you're potentially breaking down the barriers that they may want to put up later in life. When you think about people who have become disenchanted with church, it's often because there was either one very negative relationship or there were a bunch of relationships that were just pretty neutral. Of just like, none of these, they were around and they were nice, I guess, but like no one really cared. If you can associate church with people that love me, even as life gets difficult for them later on, you may be able to give them the positive association that makes them think, but I should keep giving this church thing a more solid try. I should still care more about Jesus.
It's good.